My name is Sharada Narayanan. I'm from Bangalore. I have now been in the Bay Area for about 5 months now. I've been in the US for about 5 years. I work for a startup called Dot Data. I am a data scientist by profession. Yeah, so I'm originally an engineer with a biotechnology degree. I graduated in 2012, and towards the end of my course, I figured that I didn't really want to continue on with biotech and do more research. So I did a career switch to IT. So I went to more IT services. I spent about 2.5 years in IT services, and then using some of my experience from there, I wanted to do a more technical role, or rather be more embedded in more strategic things within a company. So I sort of transitioned over to data science. I applied for a master's degree in business analytics. I came over to the US and I got my degree in business analytics, and then I've been in the data science industry since then. Towards the end of 11th and 12th, I figured that I wanted to do something different with my life, something more geared towards biology, and just it was very interesting to see a lot of the genetics and molecular biology and things like that were happening in the industry. So that was when I think I made the pivot to take biotechnology as an engineering degree. But of course, towards the end of the degree, I figured that biotech is not at the place where I would have liked for it to be in India. And so essentially I did some data science in biotech as well, but it was not the biotech aspect of it that kept me moving. I think it was the data science aspect of it that kept me motivated to pursue something more in the future. In my career, I would say I had two major challenges. One is because I did a career switch. It was very hard to actually make the switch, right? So it was hard because you have to learn a completely new skill set. And the second is you have to get an employer to take you seriously in the new skill set, given that you have almost no experience or experience something else. My day at work would be, I would go in, typically there would be, so as a data scientist, I write code, as well as I interpret a lot of data, I do a lot of analysis. So most of my day would go in doing analysis. Some part of my day would also go on strategizing how to present that analysis to the business partners and sit in some meetings, essentially decide what we want to present to them and how we want to present it to them such that they can actually embed this information into their environment. During COVID right now, it's a lot more productive, I would say, because essentially it's like pure productivity right now because there's no major distractions or no travel, no other things like that. So again, I still continue to wake up around 6:30, but then I start working around 7:30, and then my morning, the first few hours of the day, I spend reading some articles sometimes. Looking into emails, responding. The next, large chunk of my day just goes in meetings, where I sit through meetings with either clients or with my own teammates, where we design data science experiments, how to apply data into the business, how to embed the solutions. And then the second half of the day, I typically code. Sometimes that can be very reassuring when it's safe space, so you can sort of figure out how to do things you need to do. So I code, I write code for machine learning specifically, build models and experiments, and then again continue to strategize how we can improve our product based on certain findings that we have. So my typical work day now during COVID is more of like a 10-hour day. It's got much longer. So I would say it's taken a little bit of a hit on the work-life balance. I would say spending 4 years learning something is not a bad thing, because at that age, when you're that young, there are still a lot of things left to learn. So maybe I would have still spent 4 years, but I for sure would have spent the 4 years differently, right? So to start off with, I think it's the current education. I read about this new education policy, and it's very encouraging to see that they are changing the way the education system, because when you come out of 11th and 12th, sometimes I feel like it's a little too young for a person to decide what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And by the time you finish engineering, a lot of times the work climate is completely different from what it was when you started, right? So there's no telling how it's going to be 4 years or 10 years down the line. So I think definitely to start off with, I would have equipped myself with some more vocational skills, and essentially some skills like computing, so things like coding, things like presentation, how to survive a company culture, because education system does not prepare us for career or even life, I think. So definitely some more courses like that. If someone wanted to pursue something like data science, I would recommend more courses in statistics. That's definitely not something that's, given that we all did engineering, I'm very surprised. Although we did a lot of math based courses, we there was never really any importance given to any of the other math based careers apart from pure engineering itself. And I think there are a lot more options available outside, right? So I would definitely recommend computer science as like a base degree, because that's just there. In computing is everywhere in every industry, so it's always a good skill set to have. More statistics based courses, more courses in learning the industry itself, which I don't know how it's going to have. That's going to be something that's very hard to build a curriculum around. But I think that's definitely something that's lacking in the education system right now, where there is no bridge. There's a gap between the education and the industry. And the industry moves so fast, it's very hard for education to keep up, right? So, I mean, if the NEP can bring about something like that, that would just be fabulous. That's definitely my recommendation for anyone who wants to pursue a career in data science. I think when we were in our college system, we were very much in that bubble of engineering is everything. Now that I'm in the real world, I know that that's not true. So sometimes I feel like if I had the awareness to understand what is actually happening in the market and to understand what kinds of opportunities are out there, at least I might have been more open to thinking about something other than engineering, right? So I'd say the first thing that anyone needs to equip themselves right now with in the age of information is information. To be aware, right? The second thing is, most jobs these days have some level of computing. So it can either be, I mean, even animators, even people who are artists have to do their animation on an iPad or some like digital platform. Even an RJ has to learn how to use automation in some form, something like that, right? So I would say find maybe one or two career paths that make a lot of sense for you and understand the skill set in that, and definitely pick up some form of computing skill set, right? It can either be coding, or it can be just knowing how to use Excel really well, or picking up something like web development, whatever makes sense for that industry. If anything, I would say these are the top two things. First tip would be learn about what is available for you in the industry. Learn where that, don't be taken away, don't be carried away by the money, by the glory, the fame. If that's what you want in your career, then fine, but learn the ups and downs of every career. and learn if you're going to like it or going to be good at it, right? That's the first one. The second one was perseverance for me. I think I just had to keep studying. Like I would go to work from 10 to 7, and then I'd have dinner and everything, and then I would start studying from 9 in the night to 12 every day for 1 year. And that's what took me to where I wanted to be, right? And the journey is hard, but the journey is what matters. So the other thing that I learned along the way is you're going to fail multiple times, but just remember that it's not a failure. You're just learning what to not do, right? And it's the Einstein experiment. He did it 1,000 times, he failed, or rather, he did it 100 times, he failed 99 times. The 100th time he got it, and just keep pushing. At some point, you need somebody to tell you, to bring you to earth, right? To give you the reality of the path that you've chosen. So I think the product that Skilletwill has, where you take your online courses, that is very, very handy, especially when you're looking to understand a new field. And sometimes, especially if you take data science, your engineering degree is not going to give you data science specific courses. So something like what Skilletwill is doing, where you offer the online courses, would be just perfect to upskill from where you are right now and go beyond. I think that is one very promising product. Definitely your Evolve and iTrain are Evolve is outstanding because just the concept that you want, you're giving them a career roadmap that would just be very, very useful for any person graduating, or even, I would say, even someone who's currently in the industry. That would be very handy to assess, like, what you are doing. Are you stuck in a particular place? Do you want to go further from here? What can you do? I think that's very promising. Good stuff.